Today, I'd like to talk with you about a revolution, one that's taking place not in our politics, but in our largest and most profitable black market industry in the world, the global trade in illicit drugs. And I also want to pose a controversial idea to you. That is, that the people who are driving this revolution, the ever-increasing numbers who are buying and selling illicit drugs online, are beginning to reshape this vast criminal enterprise in some fundamental, surprising, and unexpectedly beneficial ways. Improving product quality, facilitating harm reduction, mimicking many of the business strategies that we see in the legitimate economy, and also, for the first time, providing a viable alternative to street dealing and the violence, threats, and other risks that are sometimes associated with that. In other words, I want to suggest to you that the rise of the darknet drugs trade may not, in fact, be such a bad thing. Like so many of the technology transformations around us, this is driven by changes in technology. Two technologies in particular. The first is the Tor network, also known as the anonymous web, also known by its more sinister sounding name, the darknet. The darknet is freely accessible. All you need to do to get on there is to download a Tor browser, much like you would a different version of Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. The difference is, with a Tor browser, you can access a range of websites that are otherwise unavailable on the clear net, and you can do so without people knowing who you are or where you're located. The second big technology are electronic currencies, or cryptocurrencies. The big one here is Bitcoin, but there are other ones: Ethereum, Liberty Coin, Kanye West, it's one of my favorites. These function kind of like internet versions of cash. They allow peer-to-peer transactions to take place without the need for financial intermediaries like banks or governments. And they allow you to send and receive payments without your bank manager or the police knowing what you're spending your money on. Together, these two technologies facilitated the development of the first anonymous darknet marketplaces, or crypto markets, with the first major one of these, Silk Road, coming online back in 2011. Unsurprisingly, it quickly came to the attention of law enforcement and the press, who dubbed it the eBay of illicit drugs, which is not actually a bad description because, like eBay, none of these sites actually sell anything to you directly. They simply host the encrypted, secure infrastructure that allow buyers and sellers who are geographically disparate, often located in different countries or even different continents, to come together anonymously, to share information, to advertise products, and to make transactions, on which the administrators of the site charge a small commission before the goods are sent directly from the seller to the buyer directly in the post. Now, this kind of direct-to-consumer business model probably sounds familiar. It's been taking many legitimate industries by storm over the past couple of decades. And one of the major reasons for this is efficiency. By communicating directly with customers online, businesses are able to cut out many of the middlemen that are traditionally associated with a supply chain. But of course, the big difference with the illicit drugs trade is that the middlemen you are cutting out of the supply chain increasingly are the international traffickers, organized crime syndicates, biker gangs, powerful and sophisticated organized crime groups who use violence, intimidation, and corruption of law enforcement to control, dominate, and profit from this most lucrative of black market industries. In many ways, these conventional organized crime groups are the criminal equivalent of the big corporate retail giants who used to dominate the sector before the rise of legitimate online retailing. And just like those traditional retailing giants, these traditional organized crime groups have the most to lose under this new direct system of direct-to-consumer drug supply. After all, who needs an international trafficker or a local dealer when you can access the finest cannabis or MDMA directly from a supplier in British Columbia or the Netherlands? But the similarities with other tech trends don't end there. For those of you who have never seen a crypto market, this is what they look like. This is a screenshot from one of the most popular darknet marketplaces currently in operation, and you can immediately see a number of striking similarities with a legitimate trading website. You have your different product categories, news, account information, messages from the site administrator. It's only when you start to look at the products themselves and the advertisements that you get the unambiguous sense that you've wandered somewhat off the beaten track. For consumers, the range of choice on offer is unbelievable. Those little numbers you can see on the top left there are the number of listings under any different product category, and you can see thousands or even tens of thousands under the most popular product categories, like cannabis and ecstasy, which make up the largest bulk sales of drugs traded on the darknet. Of course, for people who purchase drugs on the darknet, there are certain health implications. And for people who wish to manage these health implications in the most responsible way popular, they can access the various harm reduction forums that are also hosted on all of these sites. In fact, these harm reduction forums have been so popular that on the original Silk Road website, the site administrator hired a professional doctor and drug expert to offer free specialist advice to users who purchase drugs on the site in order for them to use those drugs in as safe a manner as possible. Now, while there are a range of benefits for consumers using these sites, they do pose a certain number of dilemmas for drug dealers. That is, how does one compete amongst so much competition, way more than would ever be perceived in any kind of physical illicit drug market, particularly when one can no longer use violence or intimidation to deter or eliminate the competition. So, how do dealers compete with one another online? Well, the answer is they do so by building a brand. Anything and everything that is used to build a brand in the legitimate economy is now being used to do the same on the darknet. Assurances of quality, competitive pricing, 2-for-1 specials, loyalty discount programs, product innovation, such as these Make America Great Again Donald Trump-shaped ecstasy pills. We see dealers offering free reshipping or refunds for drugs that have been intercepted in the post or that are not up to the quality expected. And at the more bizarre end of branding, we see dealers who assure us that their products are organic, sustainable, ethical, and conflict-free. The age of fair trade drugs has officially arrived. What these innovations show us is how creative dealers have to be to compete with one another online. And they show us the lengths that people go to ensure that their customers are happy. But why would anyone believe anything an online drug dealer has to say? And importantly, why are drug dealers so keen to keep their customers happy? Well, this takes us to the final key innovation and another striking similarity with tech trends revolutionizing the legitimate economy: customer feedback. Just like tech disruptors, Uber, Airbnb, and eBay, customers use customer feedback to assess which drug dealers they wish to make a purchase from. This provides a powerful incentive for drug retailers to provide accurate information and to conduct trades in good faith. And the results are striking. Research suggests that more than 97% of darknet drug trades attract either a 4 or 5 out of 5-star rating, a level of customer satisfaction that I think any legitimate business would be happy to emulate. Online drug trading is not a panacea. While physical violence is entirely absent, threats and scams do occur. And more importantly, people have overdosed from drugs that they've purchased on the darknet. But we cannot arrest and imprison our way out of this problem. If anything, the war on drugs has shown us is that drug prohibition is not something that is going to work any more than alcohol prohibition did back in the 1930s. But we are seeing positive signs in places like the US and Canada with cannabis legalization, and even more positive signs in places like Portugal, where all drugs were decriminalized back in 2001 to much positive effect, including a reduction in drug use amongst young people. But we've got a long way to go on the policy front. In the meantime, however, The darknet offers us an unexpected third way, whereby many of the harms associated with drug prohibition may be minimized. Competition amongst dealers is fierce but non-violent. Drug consumers are better informed and they have access to harm reduction information. And drugs are delivered not by dealers, but by your friendly neighborhood postman. Not a perfect system by any means, but certainly a revolutionary one, and arguably the lesser of two evils. Thank you.